Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, kiddies and boys and girls, I have the wonderful Bisco Smith here and a wonderful addition to the Aurum gallery. It's been good. I mean, we've never really had a conversation, on the
Yeah,
phone
man.
a couple of times.
Yes.
Uh, and we're here. It's been I love the backdrop straight away. I'm like, okay,
Yeah, fuck it. Why not?
that's it. That's it.
Hit you with it.
When in Rome, meet lions. It's been amazing having your stuff as an addition to the gallery because one of the things that I wanted to speak to you about was that primal idea, with your stuff. Obviously, you're based in New York, and the age that we are as artists. I mean, I'm a lot older. I'm 55. Yeah, and even back then, I felt that we were on the shoulder of giants, namely, the suspects that we look at Subway Art and we look at Subway Art 2, Spray Can Art. You look at the new wave also, with a lot of the artists, whether it was coming out of Europe and Germany, but how I wouldn't even say an American perspective, I say a native's perspective for you, being in New York, that impact, it's got to be one of those. I think for me, being 18 and going to New York, the impact of New York culture, graffiti, is just mind blowing.
Major, man. It's major. Yeah. I mean, for me, I got really hooked onto graffiti when I was in Connecticut. I lived in Connecticut outside of the city, probably like 90 to 98 or something like that. And those years was when I was coming up, the highways were smashed, the train lines were smashed, and it was all bleeding through Connecticut on the highways, on the train lines. And my father worked in Manhattan, so there was a lot of like back and forth, and the city was bleeding to the suburbs, and that shit just magnetized me, man. And then I moved there in the late 90s to go to school, and I don't, New York is just like a hip hop spot to me. Like the energy, you go to Jamaica, you feel dub, like you feel that energy. You go to certain places, it feels a certain way. To me, New York, the soundtrack is hip hop. That's the lens I see it through. That's the lens I feel it through. And just to be, I don't know. It's just like, it's the energy, man. It's untouchable. And I think the graffiti is just an explosion of the people's energy.
I spoke to, obviously the documentary was a massive success with Henry because for me, when Henry was like 48, we'd met. He'd come to the little old town. He'd been globe trotting around, and of course the impact of James, David Silverman, and Martha Cooper has been,
Totally. Major.
I mean, they've been, I was with James in Miami, and at Mayor's place, we went to the place down there, the spot which is beautiful down in the museum.
Mm.
Just any phoenix from any ashes that rises. And I love the fact that we can say contemporary without the contempt of what these motherfuckers
Yeah.
try to, because what does contemporary actually mean? I think graffiti had that from the very get go. This is unstoppable. This is what it's about. And I always look at it like this. You can take anyone from any art school that's done Foundation 1, Foundation 2, I don't know whatever that is now.
Yeah.
And the general consensus is you put 100 cans in front of them on a wall, and there's no skill. It's like they're not gonna be able.
Yeah.
And
I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
if you take the writer with that energy in that crucible of ideas, I call it,
Yeah.
and you force that through whatever medium it's going to be into a centrifugal idea of thought, taking it into the whole idea of casting, because that's what I do. But I think that energy is unstoppable, not necessarily because of the finished product on the wall, but of what's behind it with this kind of massive. It's such as the culture of all cultures, really, and everything
Yeah.
else.
I mean, when you say that, I think of like there's like the competitive edge of it all too, like coming up, even with like, I don't paint walls as much as I used to in terms of burners and productions and shit. But like when you're painting with 6 or 7 friends, like for me, I'm always trying to do the dopest shit and trying to do it the fastest and trying to beat everybody on the wall. It's all love, but that's the culture we come from. Is like, who can burn the freshest, who can rock the hardest. And at the end, it's all love. But I think I don't know how many other artistic cultures work that way. You know what I'm saying? It's like the music, everything is like, it's a skill game, or at least that's how I see it. When coming up in the 90s, like it was skills. The wild style was a skill. The raps were about skill. You know what I'm saying? The turntablism was skills. And different now, I think. Now we're in the era of vibes, possibly. But
I also think though, with the idea, like you said, the era of vibes, it kind of, it's almost like it left the gravity, like there's nothing to prove. The idea of enjoying it as a form, you know, and also you think about how far wild styles come, you know, from what people like Dame were doing and Delta way back, and you know, four-dimensional artists and surreal artists, what they're doing now, it almost pops out the other side. And here's an artist from New York, and one of the hardest, you know, which has even inspired me, working in black and white, just in black and white, you know, and you're adding a few other attributes, but that for me is also the idea of somebody taking ownership over their form. And the style, the idea, you know, Mode sums it up in the documentary. He said, the idea of the artist from the extension of the hand, whether it's the can or the paintbrush, or the, you know, the idea of the movement, and also the idea which I saw on your, you know, art and music, and I resonate with this because obviously music is, you know, 25, 26 years of my life, and sonically,
big respect for that, man. Big respect on that level, you know.
Yeah, but it's, you know, it's, I think that what I'm trying to get, the point I'm getting at is that we are these artists that we need. I can't, I mean, for me to paint without music just seems like it's not going to happen. And if I do, if I do, it's like a concept where I may have forgotten because I'm thinking about something else, but it's very rare. It's really rare for me not to listen to music and paint. And that's something I think that I picked up on your thing with the idea of art and music. And do you think, for me, is that a parallax for you? The idea that, is the music so embedded in your lifestyle?
Yeah, I mean, I learned this form of expression. I should say, like, I used to tie it to skateboarding, right? The being free, the freedom of everything. But then I spent years rapping, and like freestyle rap, cypher shit, open mics, all that kind of thing taught me how to just go. Like if you're standing in a circle with 8 dudes and everybody's rapping, if I premeditate what I'm gonna do, I'm overthinking it. And when it comes to my space, I'm probably gonna trip and not be able to speak what I'm feeling. So I learned through years of that practice the true moment of like finding my center in the moment, in the free, in that expression. And I apply that same high and that same chase for that moment when I'm painting. So I'll put beats on it, and like, I just imagine it, you know, when that shit comes to my head, whatever the lyric or the thought or the word is, that's when I hit the canvas. I don't really sketch. I don't really think too much. I just let the music guide that mark. And once the first mark's made, then I'm free. You know, like a white canvas or a black canvas is pretty intimidating until you hit it. And then once you hit it, for me, it's like I'm on it. But I definitely approach making paintings as if I was like in a cipher rapping and shit, you know.
Well, I mean, I think that the welcoming you've had from the gallery, you know, it's also a breath of fresh air, because it's this, you know, it's like studying here and you're looking at Buddhism and you're looking at the idea of a certain spirituality, if you like. I love the effortlessness of, also, you know, when we think what it is actually not. It isn't any of that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that of letting go. What a lot of artists, we just saw it like this. You know, I remember when graffiti writers were like, we just hitting on the stencil artists and hitting on the guys, anyone who touches the paintbrush or anyone that wasn't using a cap. And that is part of it's almost part of it. But through the university of the street, there are other departments in this Phoenix, right?
But you know, graffiti's, we're the purists, man. You know, it's harder to break out of those boxes. You know?
Well, yeah, but it's also been the thing which was held it back in a lot of respects, but it needed to do a certain amount. But what I love about your work is I can look at it and it can just be inspiring, just in this black and white, because we're already thinking in color. You know, my wife pointed it out to me. We only invented color as in the names for it, because it doesn't actually really exist. You know,
Mm,
the idea of when you think about color, what it actually, you know, what's blue, what is it? You know,
sure, sure.
it's these different tones of what we see. And I think what I loved about your stuff is that the early cut and paste stuff I was doing at like Rivington Street, Love Over Gold, you know, ripping all the porn opens and sticking them up. You know, I saw the phone booths and loads of just, and it's just the city. I love the way, there's a great image of yours. I just love this image. And it's something that stayed with me. And it's like it's the image of you standing, and it's got the cans, and it's got everything
Oh
in
yeah,
black and white. And I love this image because
sure.
it's
Thank you.
just got this, it's just got everything, because it's the street, it's all of that. And I was, you know, it took me back to the idea of, you know, I'm obviously putting this color on top, these layers, but I love the way that it's one of the hardest mediums is working in black and white. But this the style of what you do is so synonymous to you in the hand style.
Yeah,
I also thought the way that you are, you know, you're writing these, you know, because for me, hieroglyphic ciphers and just lines after line
yeah, yeah.
after line. Has it ever been a thing for you to just putting it out there? Is it a thing that you've always gone, well, I spit all this stuff? Is that content of lyrical cipher ever been a thing where you've gone, I'm going to write this whole thing?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I have a few approaches I do with that. So the paragraph, that's like kind of the, how do I say,
Paragraph
like,
work, I'd call it. Paragraph work.
yeah,
Or
let's say the paragraph, right? Or the verse or whatever. That's sort of like what broke me into more of just raw canvas. Before I come from graffiti, but then I did graphic design for a long time. And I worked in music. I worked doing packaging. I worked doing web shit when the web, like I was doing packaging before the web, then the web came and changed the dynamics. I got into the web. I actually did Henry's website long, long ago.
wow, here
So
we go. No way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, you
Crazy.
know, I work with a lot of really dope, impactful individuals from our culture. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But as things progressed, I started to make my own work. I had to find how to get off the computer because I was doing image transferring. I was doing like more mixed media stuff. And one day I just had shit on the walls in the studio and I started writing raps. I had beats on. I just started writing on the wall and it felt like I was catching tags. There was a composition element. The feeling was amazing. I was rapping. I was doing everything I was doing at that moment, that it just all happened right there. And it felt so good, you know?
Mm.
And that really took me from the computer to a mixed media to just straight up on the material. So for a long time, I wouldn't tell anyone what those said because I felt like it would take away the vulnerability that I had while I was writing it. Like if I knew you knew what I was writing, then I would think about what I was writing and that would fuck up my freestyle. And then it would change the whole concept of what I'm going for, which is just to be in the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then over time, people would come to me and ask me to like paint them paintings and shit. A lot of people ask me to paint quotes or whatever. I never do that. I always tell them like the writing is part of the art.
Yeah.
What I will do though, I do this thing where I ask collectors, like we talk on the phone for an hour, let's say, I'll take notes the whole time. I'll make a painting in that form, taking everything I spoke to them about, turn that into a verse, and then put that verse onto the painting, and then give them like a certificate of authenticity that says what that is. But I always tell them, I'm like, yo, live with it for a year or 6 months. Try to figure it out. Let the painting come to life. Look in it, feel it, let it be what it is. And when you're ready, open that up and see what you got, see how it feels. But there's like layers to it. And I've recorded the paintings too. Kind of like the paintings are my first draft if I was writing songs. So when I was making a lot of records, I was on the subway a lot. So I would be writing on the subway. Then I would go home and I would rewrite that. And by the time I'm ready to record it. It's like the third draft. Because once I'm actually putting the vocals down, everything changes a little bit. These paintings are like the first draft in that process. So I have done where I turn them into the audio and record it. And I have goals to take this to like a live performance aspect, possibly, where the paintings are up, I can perform the paintings and I can do this whole, I got a big vision for it. It's just time and energy. But
I think that's what this ultimately is about. It's really this expression which you're not fearful of anymore. And of course, we, our kids are our teachers. I look, you got little man, you got your family, right? I look at my girl, and I've been a father over and over again. But in wedlock, you get this situation where you're looking, you're thinking, the house is surrounded with art, and how this impacts our kids and how growing up impacted us. If
Yeah.
something so fundamental in the way that graffiti was changed my life completely, it's never going to be the same again.
Yeah, me too, man.
It's never going to be the same. But we're the cool dads all of a sudden because this generation of contemporary and where we're at, and I think the vision for Aurum is that you're one of the few artists that I never really knew before, but I said we would like this guy's stuff. It's incredible.
I appreciate you reaching out, man. I really
But
do.
I just think Asia, it's a nice hub here, and it's also the idea of showing somebody that's got something that's got real crucible of ideas, where it's not just something that's flimsy or thin. And you've got back. You've seen you're coming from this place which is authentic. You've got this realism that I love, and also the idea of I don't give a fuck about the rest of the world. I'm doing this, and that
I'm trying. I try to stay in that lane. That it's hard, man. I'm sure you feel it as being a lifelong creator with success. Like, and maybe you feel different about it, I don't know, but I feel as there's more eyes, there's more, maybe pressure's not the word, but more expectations and shit. And it's like a constant war, not war, but it's a constant thing for me to figure out how to shut all the shit off and just do me and do what I'm doing
I
and
just
try.
I just gave up. I just gave that shit up because it
Word.
comes to the point where you just gotta we just not got to throw stones from the glass house because we don't live in a glass house. We're
Yeah,
no longer like the incubator. It's like that in the music industry did that. And I already witnessed that at its peak. And I thought, fuck
yeah,
that. At the end of the day, leaving the gravity to get up in the morning and paint is just the best feeling, right? So,
yeah.
so, to be 55 and painting, as I've been wielding, oh, this guy's been an old writer. Yeah, give him props. It's like, yeah, okay. It's like, because you know what it's like. I've seen generations where that's why you're locked in. If you just got to keep moving, it's like when you get pulled up at the shopping mall and the guy go, "Oh my god, yeah, I used to love your music. What are you up to now?" It's like, "Well, you're the one pushing the pram, and I'm the one that's going out Friday night, and you got
Yeah,
2.5 kids. Nothing changed for me."
yeah,
And I think it's kept me ever youthful in that respect. I think the art is that. Um,
totally.
our intentions for Aurum, what I love about the space of the gallery is that your stuff just sits.
And that space looks amazing, bro. I cannot wait to come and see it. It's an
Well,
incredible looking
I
space.
think I think next year you've got to come and hit the train.
100%.
I've got Voider coming. Me and him are going to kill it with this lying down nude. And if you've seen Voider stuff, he's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, for sure.
And
Yeah,
I love what he's doing with his stained glass stuff. I mean, it's so original.
yeah,
And I just love the originality. And of course, he's painting with oils, and he's really, he came out of fine art back into graph. And that's what I love about the idea of this mixed medium, even with your stuff. I started going back to black and white by just doing like small photographs and thinking, well, why don't I just put layers of color? So we're looking through this whole lens. And it's
mm,
been inspiring, the same as Berlin, the same as Vils. And Saturno, another guy that I think is so underrated in terms of his paintbrush skill. I mean, he's so amazing. And even
mm,
with that, it's like it's a room, a space that what I love about the impact of your work is that you can put it in a gable end, you can put it on the scale of a building, you can put it into a large canvas, and it just says freedom. It just says look at this contained
word.
freedom, if that
Right.
makes sense.
But I'm glad that's how you feel about it. You got some big walls, man. I'll send you some more big paintings.
Well,
I
yeah,
love
I
some
think
big
we're done.
paintings.
I'm not sure. I'm going to speak to Leon tomorrow. I'm going there tomorrow, um, and I want to go and obviously see what's there left. And I think we need to get to it. I'm just really glad that even in the pandemic we kept this thing going, and we've
Yeah,
had,
man.
we've had an amazing response from people.
So,
And the first thing they say is, "Oh my God, this space." And I
yeah,
like the art. The city's like that, and why not? I think that the word contemporary doesn't mean it should be in a shoebox you can swing a
yeah.
cat in. The
Yeah,
claustrophobic I get with that. I get very claustrophobic when I see art in small spaces. Like,
yeah, yeah. Totally. Yeah. Yeah,
So
man. I'm excited to get you some more. I know there's none left. They all went out. They all found
but
places to be.
that's what we
So
need to do. I mean, it'd be lovely to know what work you're moving with. And to be honest, man, this is your choice. This isn't a, this is for me the collective aspect of what we have. What you think will suit the next move, and maybe I think my subconscious was thinking about the idea of, I know this connection to music is important to you, and I love the idea of verse. I love the idea of the word space. I love the idea of quote unquote Cisco, Bisco, Cisco. For me, that idea of Mr. Smith doing what he wants to do, I love the idea of, I remember going to Philly, and the idea of Philly hip hop having this other greener version, this kind of wordsmithing as opposed to the game. I love the way that, moving in Philly, and I think the idea of, I have a lot of people who are in Atlanta, and they're still there on the grind, writing, and probably the most underrated people, especially now when you think about how saturated it's become with the commercial aspect of the music. But the point I'm making is reflecting that in your work. I'm happy for anything that comes our way with you, what you're doing, because I love the grandness of it. I think the new gold stuff you're doing is mind blowing because I love gold anyway. That
yeah,
stuff for me with the
yeah.
arrow.
I gotta send golds, man. That makes sense. That's a
That
logical
shit
move,
with the
you know.
gold coming over, man, with the arrow, I'm like, oh man, he's cutting me with some styles at the moment. That I really, really love. And even some of the stuff
Cool.
red, which is really beautiful. And I think it's a bit like, I know it's a weird way of analogy, but you know, drum and bass are very complicated music, and it's changing all the time, and it's a hieroglyphic in that sense, and it's producers music. But when you go listen to techno from Detroit, or you listen to techno in Germany, whatever the fuck it is, if it's moving, it just takes one little hi-hat to move to make it exciting.
Yeah,
The way that your
yeah,
work
totally.
is, the way that your work is, it's like one splash of color in something changes the dynamic completely.
Right. Yeah, yeah, for
And I
sure.
think I think
Cool.
that's interesting too. Excuse me. But for me, a couple of questions I want to kind of wrap it up on is,
Yeah, man.
I find really interesting is, where were you? The idea of skate culture. I've seen even Shep and all those guys coming on the back of that culture. They saw the original stuff. But I was pulling out these books today, which I've not seen from a while. Graffiti World, which is an amazing, which has got a lot. It's got a lot of work in here from all around the world.
Mm.
And the idea is moving in contemporary. And I pulled out this bad boy because there was this special edition that Henry signed.
Yeah, I got the same joint signed too, man.
This is the one, right? This is, you get Henry to sign one of these. But
That's a joint right there. Yeah.
here's the one. I mean, King, man. And I thought of that, and I thought how far this movement is it's compelling. It's just, I look at this and I can still get the feels. Thinking
Yeah.
about the New York strikes.
You were there, right? I mean, you were around the
Yeah, man. I was there.
train.
I was around. I caught the back end of the trains. I got to hit a couple of trains. Me, Vulcan, Dome, Dero. They had a big
Oh,
fight in the carriage. It was a 116th Street layup. I mean, to catch the end of the glory, that glory. And you know what?
special.
Going to Henry's exhibition. I don't know if you had time to go and see that. Did you go to
In the
this?
Bronx, right?
Go to see it? Did you not go to see
Yeah,
it?
yeah. But in the one in the Bronx you're talking
Yeah,
about, right?
Brooks
Yeah,
Museum.
it was incredible, man. Incredible.
I mean, that exhibition. We filmed with the back end of the documentary, which I must send you a link for.
Mm.
I'll get Leon to send you a link.
Yeah, please do,
You
man.
need to
Please.
see it. You need to see it. Henry's very proud because obviously he just did 80 this year. And walking into that gallery and hugging him, it was freezing cold.
Mm.
And it was this time last year, like literally a year and a month. And seeing the way that New York, had won, the Bronx had won, it's that victory. And seeing
Changed the world, man.
changed the world, man. And
Totally.
what Mayor said, right? The wall, the trains might not be here, but we won the world.
That's the
You know what
truth.
I mean?
Sure.
And that,
Definitely won my heart and took over my life, man, That book. So my brother gave me that book. I don't know, man. I must have been in like 6th or 7th grade when he gave me that book. Because I was in, I was
sorry, I'm not American. What's the sixth, seventh grade?
6th or 7th grade. So I'm probably like I don't know, 12, 13 years old, something like
Wow.
that. And cause you know, yeah, like he gave it to me. He worked at a bookstore, and I feel like it came into the bookstore and he gave it to me as a gift, and it blew my mind, man, you know. But simultaneously in my life, I was getting at the public library the Source magazines. I think it's around the same
Source,
era.
Source
You
magazine.
know,
One
when
that,
Chino was doing the
yeah.
back of the Source, and we would go into the library and cut those out and then paste them in our little black books and make our own like collections and shit, and just be super influenced by all that. But we were in the suburbs, man. There was no trains rolling. There was the
Yeah.
graffiti was super localized, and it was just a lot of toy shit, a lot of trying to, you know,
Well, we
like just
tried it. We used to go try and hit it. I remember the first attempt we went to try and hit a British rail train, and it was like it's like 10 foot off the floor before you could even get to the to the train. We're like,
yeah,
we seriously underestimated, you know.
yeah, yeah. It's different when you're off the platform, the
Oh
sideways.
man, we had all of that, you know, to deal with, and of course, you know that we hit it. We in the end we came back, walked to golf course, slapped ladders, the whole lot, you know, crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
It looked minuscule. You know what I mean? You know, as a
Totally.
supreme graffiti team, it looked minuscule compared to, you know, the way the subway cars. Oh, it's got this huge, massive
Yeah.
fucking Amtrak train. Do you know what I mean?
I was thinking the other day, I was listening to something about the subways and like the importance of them in New York and the cities, and how the subways really connect everything and make a move. And with this pandemic, the loss of budget, and just thinking about how the subways need help in New York, you know? And they were talking about standing next to a train. And I thought about this moment back when I was painting in the tunnels. Like a few times in my life, I did some tunnel painting.
Wow.
And yo, I had this moment where I was in a line, but it was only like a 2-train line, you know, and the
Yeah.
train starts coming one way. So we're like, all right, get to the other side. You know, this the third rail and all that shit. But then a train starts coming from the other side. So I stood in the middle of the two moving trains, like with the beams right there.
Get that.
Yo, and I painted freight trains. I've been in front of trains, but when they're moving by you at that speed on both sides with third rails, like I walked out of that shit so invigorated. You know what I mean? Like, all right, I'm alive, yo. What are we
Yeah.
doing? You know?
It's crazy. I mean,
Right.
I was on 116th Street. They had a fight, Dome and Dero in the car. Then the fucking cops come, and we just in the track, running into 116th Street, you know, shitting bricks, jumping over the rail. And you're like, you come out of there freezing cold because it's winter, you know, December, fucking snow everywhere. And you're like, what the fuck? You know, but I'm going in there with Vulcan, and he's got like,
So alive, man. So alive, you know?
my hair's like this, and Vulcan, we went in there. We went in, we rocked up there like about 1 in the morning. He's got these 2 fucking bags full of foam letters that he covered in plaster. VULC.
For real, that's dope.
And this motherfucker zebra painted like the black and white stripes. The whole fucking car. And then he just sticks the fucking letters on. With his sitting on the layup, sticking Vulcan on. You know what I mean? I think
Wow, for real?
up to the windows, yeah.
Stuck him on the train?
He stuck them on the fucking train. He had tubes
Wow.
of glue, and he had to like air dry them in the tunnel. It's really hot air, and he's sticking them. And we're sitting there with a feet on. And he's got these fucking letters stuck to the fucking train. I'm like, this motherfucker.
Yeah, that's super forward thinking, man. You know what I'm saying? That's like next level shit back then.
I know. I mean, I don't know what letters might have fell off on the way out, but I mean, Dome sent me a picture of the train, so I got it, and I was super happy. You know, I mean, but then you get, you know, then we get chased out of there, and my fucking heart's like this, and I'm like, what the fuck? You know, and I'm waiting outside his apartment block, and he ain't made it. I'm like, is he busted? And he runs up at like 4 a.m., and I'm freezing my ass off outside there, you know what I mean, in my jacket. And, but no, it's all good. We just all split. But, you know, I think the adrenaline of that, you know, and the point you made about, you know, being there, and that, you know, for me, New York, that smell of pizza and brake dust, you know what I mean? The combination. But I think what's important is that what that was built on, that was then. I get that. But I love the way that your life is immersed in hip hop culture. Like
somehow it got here. I don't know how it all happened, but that's the shit I magnetized to and continue to push forward, man. And it brought me somewhere. I'm grateful. I'm so grateful for it, you know?
Yeah.
If you had told me when I started doing this and with the troubles I've been through with like my family involved with graffiti and what it's put us, not crazy, but I've had enough troubles that like, if you took me back then and said, in 20 years, you'll be making a living and raising a family off this shit. Like, bro, I would have never, ever thought that was even a possibility. I mean, it wasn't a possibility back then, right? That wasn't even a thing people, maybe some were doing, but I don't know. I never even thought this was a possibility, man. So I'm grateful every day for it,
What do you, in terms of, right, give me your top 3 albums. What is your go-to? I've got my go-to when I'm painting and I'm writing a minute. I've got any changes because I move.
Well, I don't listen to music with lyrics when I'm painting because then my brain is filled with lyrics. You know what I'm saying? Of somebody else's thoughts. And
But what
so
do you do then?
I'm really only listening to beats. But I will say impactful shit like Gangstar is my favorite rap shit for sure. Gangstar changed my life. I got a Gangstar tape way back when, changed my life. These days, I just like Spotify shit, man. Honestly, it's like it's bad because I'm ignorant to what I'm even listening to. I'm just like put on beat. Like there's this beat playlist that just play in the background.
Just beats,
yeah. Like it's kind of fucked up, but and then I just find one that hits right. I hit loop on it, and if it lives with me, then I'll save it somewhere. But man, I'm trying to.
Jay Dilla for me though. I mean, for me, Dilla was godlike for me wise without a shadow of a doubt. But what's really weird, you said Gangstar. I saw him in one of his last ever shows at Music Box in Seattle, and Premiere was there, and he was sad because he got really drunk. And went up to him and said hello because he was like, this fucking Gangstar, man. It's like, and he took his jacket off like he wanted to fight. And I'm like, let's fucking have it. I'm like, whoa. And I'm like, so I'm ready to go. I'm crazy. I'm ready to fucking go. I'm like, I've been respectful for like 3 times in this. And Premier's going to pull me off him. And then, you know what? It was a sad moment for me.
Yeah.
But fast forward a year later, I get a phone call and it's Gangstar. And he phoned me to apologize. And I'm like, no, it's your Gangstar, man. No beef. I love him, man. I got much love. And he just come out of rehab. And then within 3 months, he was dead.
Yeah, you know what's fucked up, man? I mean, I think the shit that I think about this with Guru because like I lived to his music for so long and with Biggie and certain people, like I think what people write becomes reality. And if you look at how that guy's life ended and the like darkness surrounding it, the amount of records he made about like sabotage and people out to get you and
the sabotage and everything else.
Yeah, like and then the way it ended is just like it sucks, man. Like
I know.
What my favorite shit about that music was he was in his 30s when he really broke. And a lot of hip hop that was hitting was coming from 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-olds. And I feel like he was a man with wisdom, like way ahead of many people what they were speaking. And for me, that shit was like a guiding light for wisdom. Like I needed that information to think about life in a certain way. And he, in a lot of ways, like put my mind in a really great space to understand life in a bigger picture. Something that when I'm 16, listening to a 30-year-old kick some wisdom, now being 40 listening to like new hip hop, I'm like, yo, you're 18, bro. I can't really.
I know. I got that.
I can't hear the young kids, man. Like I respect it, do your thing, but
like, what are you telling me in a sentence? This Gangstar, and that's the speaker right there. And I've seen Premiere since, and that's what I love about this, and I love about how this connects us. I would never have connected with a lot of people. Being old school and coming from that school of hard knocks in that respect, I love the idea of this collective in the gallery. And I know the pandemic has been a lot of bullshit for a lot of people, but the one thing about this culture is ready to go, because the street doesn't lie. Being real and being out there and doing it. And I think the space has been amazing because. I've got you next to fucking Berlin, and I've got that next to Matt Adams, and Matt next to Matt C, and then Crash, and then Crash says, yo, you got to check this boy McFly, man, check him out. So, we've got some of his work. So it really is a labor of love to be able to have, you know, I've had schools coming through this shit, and we know what the impact's like for this generation of young people. When they can physically see a stretched fucking canvas,
Totally.
you can see it, you know, and your kids looking at this stuff, and you're looking at, wow, you know, the impact of that. And that's what I love. And I really want to hope that we can work together moving forward with some new joints.
100%.
Because I love it, and you can, you know, you can generally feel that we.
Yeah, totally. Yo, your energy and just cultural impact and who you are and what you've built is special to be a part of, man. I feel that you're bringing shit there that no one else is putting out there, right? Like, there's not 9 galleries showing what you're showing there, so you're once again, like, I would imagine, tapping in and giving people this light that they haven't felt before, right? In that area. Am I wrong by thinking that?
Exactly
No, right?
right. That's exactly right. I mean, I didn't need
I mean,
to,
that's
I
dope.
didn't need to go. We did not go to need to go and look at other contemporary galleries because we know what it is. We just went, this is what
Yeah,
we're gonna
100%.
do. You know, me and my partner, we went in there and we just went, let's just do this, man. And we just went, boom. You know, and Gary, my partner, he's like, let's just fucking do this up. And he loves it like me. He loves the art, loves the music, you know, and we, you know, we've got all these projects that we do, and we can put our hands on our hearts and say, you know what? I sit in front of that train and I'm like, we got the first gold. It was a gold leaf train. Watching these motherfuckers, I'm like, hang on a second.
That's crazy.
So we got a gold leaf train. It's the only one in the world. You're watching these guys use a really old technique from, like, you know, 1800s, you know, gold leafing. It's been in Thailand. And then we're going to paint on top of the gold leaf. Okay. So just do it. Even when he was blank, I'm like, do I really want to do this?
Yeah, like I could imagine putting those lines. It's kind of like, is that smart?
But I'm waiting for you, because I think
that shit sounds intimidating, man. I can't front. I didn't know that was gold leaf. Now I'm like,
yeah, but we're going to do it again. We're going to do it again. But I want you to come, because I think, for me, having you do a kind of what you do and just add that gold back in, you know, we might be able to do some creative shit. Like, this is me thinking off the fly, right? We might be able to do this thing with the form of letters, and you might be able to kind of like move it in and out, and then just paint with the gold glue, what they use, and literally
on top of that,
the letters. Just gold leaf some of the letters and peel it off. So you've got this real gold leaf with your letters, and we've got this thing moving with the gold paint and the white and black. You know what I mean? And I think, you know, leaving some areas out of it. So it's like we created a whole shape that moves through the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'd love you to, you know, me and my boys spoke about that. We'd love you to do that. I mean, the main thing for us was that we were going to get different artists every 6 months. Just fly in and hit that motherfucking train, because that's a great thing.
I'm all about it, man. I appreciate that invite. And count me in.
Does that mean you're in?
I'm in 100%, man. When the pandemic's over, I'm taking my son, my wife. We'll come out there, we'll chill, we'll paint. You know.
That's what we do. That's what we're gonna do. And I'm really happy, man. And I'm just really, and I understand. This is the other thing. You know, I know how it goes with sales and what you're doing. We're honored that you can bless us with this work, because it's, you know, we know what it is with the gallery situation. And, you know, I think the next phase will just go.
Yeah.
We'll move it. We'll move it a little more up. We'll just keep moving it until, because we're your agents here and we want to rep you as best as we can. And I love the fact it's in-house, so I can't wait for you to come out with your family. And we got family here, and it'll be a dream trip.
Yeah, I know, man. I watch your Thailand life on the Instagram, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing out here in the winter, yo? It's like nights out there. Shit, man, I gotta get out of here.
I'm loving it, man. You gotta come. It's high central, man. Material.
Amazing,
we can do that. I love that. I love it up in that jungle. It's just, it's beautiful. The rainy season's coming, so that's gonna be really exciting. I mean, that water starts coming down the mountain, and you're like, this is it.
You still go out in that, and like,
it's better. It's even better. It's super gnarly. Yeah. You know, the water's coming down the river at the side in this little ravine, and you're going up, and the lake's full. You know, and you're drinking the water out of the river. You know, it's coming out of the mountain, man. It's the best. Crazy. You know, it's all right,
well, yeah, I'm gonna take you up on a nature mission when I get out there. You know,
I could see your brother that might want to just come out with me, man. We've got, you know, we're out in Naka Island. We've got another place out there. You know, we go to pitch a tent. That's what we do, man. It's beautiful. So
Word.
I'm just going to wrap this up. Aurum Gallery fans and family and friends, you know, it's been amazing. This is Bisco, and for me, Mr. Smith has been like a real friend with the gallery, and we got family out here everywhere. We're worldwide. New York City, my boys in the house. Come and check out Aurum Gallery. Check us out. Mr. Bisco, I cannot wait for the next drop for Aurum. I can't wait for you to start.
I'm in soon, man.
You let me know. You're going to go, right, G, I'm going to go in a blank room with like 5 blank bits. I'm just going to go in there and wreck shop.
Yeah, I got you, bro. I'm excited for it. Thank you for having me in the gallery and taking the time to do this and shine the light, man, you know, and for doing all you do and have done and continue to do, man. It's dope. It's inspiring. It's an honor, and I appreciate it, man. So new paint is coming soon. Let's keep the energy moving and you know, keep giving the world the good energy, man.
Yeah, man, that's all it is. We're gonna move it. So I'm gonna see you, man, within a year. What?
Yeah, 100%. No question. We'll see you out there.
God bless you, brother. Power to you, man. Peace out.